Commissioner Kniezek. Chair Basham.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Next item, Madam Chair.
B, Chair's remarks.
None for this meeting. Next item.
C, approval of the February 8th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Motion? Okay, I got a second from. My mic is on. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, okay. All those opposed? Let the record show that Commissioner Kniezek is here. He's not absent, so. Thank you. Okay, you get a chance to vote. All those in favor? Yes, okay. Next item, Madam Chair.
E, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Item.
Item 1, under new business. Forwarding a copy of the Office of Legislative Auditor General's Financial Assessment Limited Review Report for the Wayne County Employees Retirement System Defined Benefit Plan audited financial statements for the fiscal years ended September 30th, 2022 and September 30th, 2021. And item 2, the Financial Assessment Limited Review Report for the Wayne County Employees Retirement System Defined Contribution Plan audited financial statement for the fiscal years ended September 30, 2022 and September 30, 2021.
Okay, would like to take both of these items together if it's okay with commissioners. And also I'd like to introduce our Auditor General, her staff, and our guests. And Ms. Cora, welcome.
Marcy Cora, Auditor General, and if staff can introduce himself first.
Maxwell Andrews, Legislative Auditor 3.
Okay, I got it. This is Tim Small, Auditor General's office.
Welcome.
Mindy is on Zoom.
Hi, I'm Mindy Hayner. I'm the audit manager. I'm on Zoom. I'm sorry I can't be with you all today. I have some sick kids at home.
Okay, welcome, but I think our secretary turned your volume down just a tad. Thank you.
And if our guest from retirement, if they can introduce themselves.
Yes, good morning. Robert Gurdon, Executive Director, Wayne County Employees Retirement System.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Morning. Todd Pickett, the Department Executive, Wayne County Retirement System.
I'm going to turn over the presentations to Melinda Hayner. She's going to go through the defined benefit and defined contribution financial assessment limited review reports.
Please proceed, Melinda.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Too loud. If
Yeah,
they
we can
turn you
hear
down just a tad would be great.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so our review for both engagements was based on the independent external auditor's financial report and supplementary information provided by George Johnson and Company for the fiscal years ended September 30th, 2020 and 2021. Both statements received unmodified audit opinion, which is essentially a clean opinion. I'm going to go through the background here on the defined benefit plan, but just know that this background applies also to the defined contribution plan. The plan is, both plans are contributory agent multiple employer public employee retirement plans. Both plans have 3 participating employers: the county, the Third Circuit Court, and the Airport Authority. The administration, management, and operations of both plans is vested in the Retirement Commission. The Retirement Commission consists of 8 members, 4 employee representatives elected by active county employees, 2 retiree reps elected by retired county employees, 2 ex officio members, including the county executive or his designee and the chair of the county commission. All elected terms are for 4 years. The plan's basic benefits are funded by contributions from the county, the airport authority, and active members as specified by the plan option selected, as well as by the investment income earned on plan assets. For the defined benefit plan, we concluded that the audited statements and other supplementary information are complete and thorough, and I'll just go through some fluctuations that we noted year to year. For the defined benefit, total assets as of the fiscal year ended 2022 were $948.8 million, the majority of which represent cash and investments. Total assets decreased year over year by $205.9 million, due primarily to lower rates of return on investments. The year ended September 30, 2022, had an unfavorable rate of return of 12.6% as compared to a favorable rate of return of 26.74% in the prior year. The plan's total liabilities as of September 30th, 2022 were $2.1 million as compared to $6.3 million in the prior year, a decrease of approximately $4.2 million. The decrease is attributable to less securities purchased prior to fiscal year end, but settled after fiscal year end as compared to the prior year. Total additions increased by approximately $7.3 million from $100.9 million in the prior year to $108.3 million for fiscal end 2022 due to two factors. An additional $4.1 million of contributions due to an increase in the actuarial determined required employer contributions, plus an increase in member contributions resulting from an increase in wages. Also note the county made contributions of $5.9 million above the required contribution amount. And then the second part of $3.2 million was related to other investment income due to growth in interest and dividends. Total deductions were consistent over the last 2 years at about $137 million. The change in fair value of investments was unfavorable for the current year, with a net depreciation of $172 million for fiscal end 2022, as compared to a net appreciation of $222 million in the prior year. The net decline in the fair value of investments for the current year is attributable to volatile financial markets and resulting investment performance for the year. Despite this, management.
Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
Can somebody speak to the market outlook and the difference in valuations of what we're showing there on that item?
So, good morning, everybody. Rob Gurdon. So the year prior, as was just stated, we were at 26%. We ended last year, fiscal year last year, down 12.6. But through our current fiscal year, we're already up 10.71. So, you know, the market has been very, very volatile with inflation concerns and rising interest rates, and the market has been very irrational. I don't know if the market is ever rational, but a lot of trading and a lot of swings. And so even like yesterday was almost down 2%, 1.7%, the market was down. With the Fed saying that they're going to have to continue raising interest rates, or at least that's what they've hinted that they're going to do, because they haven't really spoken. These are just governors that are talking about it. So with this type of climate that we're I would expect us to continue to have a lot of volatility this year.
And to that point, I guess what I'm looking at is asset allocation. And, you know, previous life sat on a board that was 1.2 billion. And what amazed me about that board, I was certainly not an expert. I just listened and learned. And they made money when the market went up, but they made money when the market went down. And they didn't just look at the US economy, they looked at the world economy. And they were over the curve all the time. And so they're always either buying equities, selling equities, so much in cash, so much in, are we doing those sorts of things?
Well, of course we are, but just as a reminder, we're paying $11 million a month in benefits to our retirees. So that's, approximately over $135 million a year that gets paid out. So we've, and I think I spoke before, the board lowered their assumed rate of return assumption from 7.25 to 6.75. And so we've changed the volatility mix of our fund through our asset allocation. So we're not taking as much risk on the fund. And we're looking more at fixed income investments but we do look internationally, but we're limited in international based on Michigan state law on what we can do international. But even, international has had, Europe has had a very tough couple of years, and even the East has had, Far East has had some tough. So there's not been really a place to hide in this market.
You mentioned what you're paying out, but what you're getting in, does that offset what you're paying out?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
That's good to know too. But also ARPA funds, can ARPA be contributed? Can we put ARPA money in defined benefit plan? Is that legal? Can we do that? You know anything about it? So,
I'm sorry, which money?
ARPA.
What ARPA stands for?
Oh,
Oh, thank you. I didn't know. I've never heard of that acronym. I don't know. I don't know that answer, sir.
could somebody, Mary, can we do that?
Through the chair, I'm not for sure if we can use ARPA dollars to put into a retirement account. They may be able to use for salaries, but I don't know necessary for including benefits as well.
If you were able to successfully use ARPA funds, once they came into the trust, couldn't come out of the trust. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, there's sometimes all sorts of different ways to meet our goals, and the Fed's trying to deal with getting rid of ARPA funds. I thought if there was a way we could look at ARPA funds to sort of offset some of this, it's just a thought. And I'm sorry I interrupted. Linda, please continue. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. In conclusion, based on the work performed, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe the statements of the defined benefit plan are not presented in conformity with GAAP. And it is our recommendation that our assessment report be forwarded to the county commission to receive and file. I will move on to the.
Well, if I may,
Sorry, yep.
I think Commissioner Clark Coleman had a question or comment.
I'd like to know what the current funding level is for the defined benefit program, a plan.
Certainly, the current funding level as of, let's make sure I say this correctly so I don't. The last valuation, our funding level was 65% for the county and 81% for the airport authority.
5 for the county and 85 for the airport?
81% for the airport with a combined total of 67. And that's through fiscal year ending 2021.
That was 2021?
Right, so we're always looking at the funding level a year behind. So we'll have that available about March or June, a new funding level. And I would expect it to go down.
So you, at the lowest point, you were at, what were you at, like 45 or something like that back when the
2013, we were 44%, yes.
44? So you've gone from 44 to 65, not bad. Like you keep, I'm encouraging you to keep on raising it though.
Think further, Commissioner? Any other commissioners have comments or questions? Commissioner Kling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Gurdon. On page 39 of the defined benefit report, Bottom of the page, note E, net pension liability. And that indicates September 30 of 2022, 60.64% is what we're covered. And then I heard you split the county and the airport. You had one at 60-some% and the airport at 81. So how do I make those figures jibe?
We're not going to jive because they're different measurements.
What's this a measurement of? In the report, page 39, net pension liability.
So the difference in the report, the information on page 39, that is a GASB requirement. So they don't use the actual current liability with the assets. So our actual funding liability is calculated differently than the GASB reporting module. So there's, in the funding, they have the actual liability that's going to come out, which could change based on people leaving and wages. And also there's a smoothing effect for the market value.
Ah, the old smoothing effect. Ah, yes.
This is actual, while the other one is smoothed over 4 years.
My annual encounter with the smoothing effect. What is the one number then? Instead of splitting it between the airport and the county, what's the one number of where we're at for being funded?
65%.
65. And what was it last year?
5%.
55?
65.
65. So we've tread water. Yeah. Well, and you've already spoken to perhaps why that is. How many years has the county been putting in above the annual required contribution? I think it's 2 years. It may be 3. We've been working on getting that percent funded number up, and I think it's over the last 3 years we've been putting in additional, I believe.
2016. So since 2016, the county has made additional contributions every fiscal year.
16, 17, 18.
19, 20, 21.
Yeah, okay, 6 years. You also indicate that part of the contributions going up is not only the additional money the county has put in the budget above and beyond the annual required contribution, the ARC, there it comes. But you also indicate higher wages. Do we know a number for that? How much additional has been put in to the retirement fund due to higher wages? Well, I'm curious of that from a policy point of view, because one of the things that occurred to me, we dump an extra 4 million above our annual required contribution. Maybe that's getting churned up in the stock market. But a similar investment directly to workers and increase their wages would also increase what we have in the retirement system. Am I mistaken on that? The more that wages go up, I'm sorry.
You're correct.
So I think, Mr. Chair, that's a kind of a policy determination, with the Fed coming out yesterday going, yeah, we're still going to raise them, and the stock market says, okay, we're going to crater. How long that's going to go on, and really what the value of putting an extra 4 or 5 million in, is it really generating what we want to? And I know this is a little tough to get into here, as opposed to, but I'd be curious to hear from the retirement system, as wages go up, how much increased contribution is that? Because to me, that's a policy thing. Where are you going to put your money? Where does it do the most?
Most employees are paying 6% on their wages. So as
Yeah,
their
yeah,
wages
well,
would go up,
I got a whole bunch of other numbers I can't multiply by 6% right in front of me, and what that is. But it's a fairly substantial number, I would think. But anyway, is it possible you guys can fire that over to us? I'd love to see that number. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what makes these calculations a little bit. But still, I want to get to the best that we can, given a volatile stock market and, you know, what, so 65%, because we were down like 48 or something at one time.
40,
Yeah, it was terrible. So this has really helped our balance sheet, no doubt. Okay, let me see if I had one other. Those are my two questions for now, but I'd like to see some sort of estimate from the retirement system, especially with defined benefit. Defined contribution seems to run itself. But as wages go up, you're correct, liability goes up. How do rising wages affect the percent that were covered in the defined benefit plan? Do rising wages actually improve our position there, or is that offset by additional liabilities? And anything you can do, and I don't know who could do that, Mr. Chair. I don't know if the retirement system could do that, but I'd sure like to see that.
you know, it's not directly, when we measure with the actuary, there's several variables that the actuary measures. And so when one's going up, the liability is going up. We're also counting earnings, interest rates, quits. So we just don't look at those two parameters separately. We don't study those separately. We study them across all the variable paths.
Well, definitely, there's a lot of moving parts here, as I
There
learn
is.
every year about this, and we open a new area of discussion we haven't discussed before, then that releases another 20 variables into the mix. Can you state here, just back of the envelope, is it a wash when that happens? Is it worth investing in wages as a method for improving the viability of the defined benefit plan? So somewhere, Mr. Chair, I'd like to get
I get that.
a view on that.
For a bigger conversation on that.
Yeah, because I would like to.
I think your questions are interesting.
I would like to include that in budget discussions in the upcoming year.
Sure.
If there is some sort of effect there that's predictable. And
one of the reasons that we're seeing the numbers we're seeing is because it was pointed out the county does add additional money to the retirement fund. To that point, Darcel, is there plans to continue doing that this year? Additional money? I know he's going to come up and say yes, but.
Chairman Darcel Brown from the Wayne County Exec's Office, Government Relations. I'll take your question and find that out for you. Provide you an answer.
It's an issue with us, so appreciate it. Thank you. Because I think the ideal funding rate, if I heard everybody right, was around 80%. So we're at 67. We still got a little ways to go, but we're doing better. And then also there was a comment, Ms. Cora, about Gatsby versus actual. In Gatsby, our auditing standards go by Gatsby, and then should there be a difference, Ms. Cora?
Yes, you should.
Could be a difference. So Gatsby is not actual.
No, for the reporting standards, for the financial statements. That's why there's a difference between the funding level and the liability. the reporting terminology. Am I correct, Todd?
Else from commissioners? Okay.
Relies on when they look at investing us? What's the number that everybody uses?
Can't tell you what the number everybody uses. The number that we use at the retirement system that we create our request for the annual ART contribution is 65% based on the funding level based on the actuary. So that's how we worked and that's how we continue to work.
I guess I'd like to ask the Auditor General then. We got a 65% number, we got a 60% number. What are we supposed to make of that?
You should use the actual determined funding level. The other is just a reporting requirement. Because the actuary is going to
So the
determine
solid
your funding.
number for me, sitting where I'm sitting, is the 65.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Discussion. Any further from commissioners? Okay. Anything else from?
Maybe we'll do the DC real quickly.
Okay, so as far as the defined contribution plan, the financials, the audited statements also had an unmodified opinion, a clean opinion. The background, as I previously mentioned, is the same as the DB plan. Some of the fluctuations we noted, the plan's total assets decreased by 94.9 million over the prior year. Included in total assets are participant-directed investments, notes receivable from participants, and accounts receivable. And a majority of the $95 million decrease relates to the decline in the fair value of participant-directed mutual funds. Total additions increased by 1 million over the prior year, due primarily to interest and dividends earned on investments. Total deductions increased by approximately 3.4 million due to higher participant distributions and withdrawals resulting from retirements and terminations. And the change in the fair value of investments was also unfavorable for the current year, with a net depreciation of 72.5 million as compared to a net appreciation of 80.5 million in the prior year. And again, the decline in the fair value of investments is attributable to the volatile financial markets. And if there are no questions on this plan, we would recommend that it be forwarded to the county commission to receive and file.
Yeah, actually, I've got a question. Now, when you see the volatility we're seeing in the market, does that push us to more conservative investments? Anybody can answer that.
Okay, so in the defined contribution plan, or are you asking in general? In the defined contribution plan, this is participant driven. So the participant gets to decide if they how they want to invest their fund, and they may consider risk and age as in years of till retirement as part of their long-term strategy for their asset allocation. So some people may, who are close to retirement age, may get more conservative and put more money into stable value or maybe bond funds or something that might have less volatility.
So is any further questions or comments relative to these two items?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Clean and supported by Commissioner Dobb. All those in favor?
One second, I have to pull the screen back up.
Oh, we're waiting on technology. I'm sorry. I recognize you without the technology. You still recognize. So, so it's been moved and supported.
Who moved and supported?
Moved by Commissioner Clean. Vote on it. All those in favor?
Have it written down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Still need to vote though.
Apologies, not keeping up with us. I'll just acknowledge it, that all commissioners voted yes. Thank you. Okay, next item, Madam Clerk.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Item.
Public comments.
Is there anybody from the public would like to comment? Anybody from the public like to comment? Tim, you have anything to say? Anybody from the public like to comment? Gracie? No? Okay, one last time. Anybody from the public like to comment? Mary? No? Okay, next item, Madam Clerk.
Adjournment.
Can I get a motion? Support. Been moved and supported. All those in favor?